I have spoken with a lot of Bernie campaign staffers. Um, Obviously, I'm going to protect their identities. Some of them still are with Bernie, some of them no longer. And I heard different things. And some of them make a lot of sense, some of them don't. But I've heard from people that I trust that, coronavirus, does different things to different people. But most people, it's kind of affected them if you've been lucky enough to not get sick. Most people, it's affected mentally. It's affected mentally in some way. So I have heard from people that worked and had access to Bernie that coronavirus has affected him. Thank God, not physically, but kind of this. People don't remember. People see Bernie as like he should be doing more. He should be doing more now, but they forget this guy's a human being, and it's not even that he just ran in 2016 and again in 2020. He was constantly running in 2017 and 2018, going around the country for different candidates, going around the country for different causes. I covered him at rallies protecting Obamacare. Even though he wants Medicare for all, he was on the front lines to protect Obamacare from Trump's repeal. On the front lines with the Nissan workers down in Mississippi. He's tired. That's what I've heard from a lot of different people. Not as an excuse, because I have heard other things that people are critical of him. But he's burnt out. And I guess we don't really think about it in terms of that, because everybody, including the ones calling him a sellout and a fraud, just kind of naturally expect, because of who Bernie Sanders is for him always to be the first one on the front lines, for him always to be the one leading the charge, for him to be the one calling for the rent strike, for him to be the one calling for a general strike, for him to be the one organizing his list. And the people I've spoken to in his campaign, again, about 6 or 7 people so far, say, our impression, some of them who are still with him, is the guy's kind of burnt out. And coronavirus has kind of affected him mentally, like so many of us, so much of the rest of us, because it completely gets you out of your routine. It changes your day to day. The guy was going 100 miles an hour for 5 years, for it all to be like shut down and him being housebound. For me, sometimes this coronavirus's effects mentally have zapped my productivity. I haven't been as driven as I am when I'm in the field. Sometimes I procrastinate. So this isn't an excuse for him. I'm trying to explain what people I've spoken to are saying. With that understanding, I've spoken with several people that are kind of ticked off at Bernie, even though they understand he's burnt out, even though they understand he can't lead the charge all the time. They think it is so unprecedented pain right now that he needs to find something in him to get the necessary energy to lead the charge. They understand that he endorsed Biden. They understand he's following through on what he said. But they don't understand that he hasn't called out Pelosi and the Democratic establishment for going along with the first disastrous bill. They don't understand why it took him so long to propose legislation. He's proposed legislation now with Ed Markey. Kamala Harris was on it. I think a couple other people jumped on it, which is $2,000 a month for individuals, $4,000 for married couples, an additional $2,000 for married couples per child. But they wanted that right out of the gate. I've spoken with several people that have said, we don't understand why he's not organizing his massive email list. And I've said that before. But people who work for Bernie have said to me, he's letting everything we built go to waste. That was a quote from one of his, again, I'm trying to protect their identity, one of my sources who worked with him. We have built up this unprecedented list. Remember, Joe Biden, the DNC, Hillary Clinton tried in 2016. Joe Biden and the DNC are currently trying to get Bernie to hand over his email list to them. Not that it would work. I mean, they could email every email 100 times. Good luck getting money from Bernie's people. But they're I wouldn't say pissed off, but they're very frustrated and disappointed because part of the reason they worked for Bernie, part of the reason they rallied around Bernie is because they believed in his talk of revolution. They believed in his talk of organizer-in-chief, yet he's not organizing right now. We get that he's endorsing Biden. He's just doing what he said he would do. But we don't get why he is not being at all adversarial when we're in an economic depression and the Democratic Party is proposing lobbyists for bailouts, bailouts for lobbyists, an extension of unemployment where most people can't even get the unemployment benefits because state offices are overrun right now. The $1,200 check, I spoke with somebody in Bernie's world who said he thinks that's laughable. He knows $1,200 isn't enough. They all came to the same common denominator. He's waiting. He's waiting for things to play out. He's waiting to see how these task forces play out. He's waiting to see if the Democratic leadership steps up its proposals. Waiting. I've heard that from 4 people that worked on his campaign or work for him now. That he's still feeling out what he's going to do. This is not my opinion. This is what I've been told from sources in his world. And when I said, well, what is he waiting for? I mean, I said to them, what is he waiting for? Like 40% unemployment? 50% unemployment? It all came back to the same thing. He feels that he is straddling a line here. The 3 things that I want to get across based on talking to these sources, and a lot more will be in the written story when I have it next week, is Bernie's burnt out is a common theme that I heard, which some people are saying, Jordan, don't make excuses for him. That's not me making excuses. That's me telling you what I'm hearing from staffers, that he's burnt out and he's taking time to kind of breathe and rejuvenate. Number 2, that he feels he has some time to feel out what happens, to feel out whether something tangible comes from these task forces, to feel out whether Pelosi and them actually propose something bolder, to feel out if Biden is serious about going after his base. I'd like to know what you think, because I am working on a longer piece on what went wrong. That doesn't look as much on what should they have done between South Carolina and Super Tuesday. What should they have done after Iowa and the app thing? I'm not looking in the weeds in terms of that. I'm looking more on the bigger picture level of, was Bernie Sanders and his philosophy and his mentality and the people that he trusted, was that his ultimate downfall? Because I have not heard that examined in any of the pieces that have gone out about Bernie's campaign. Bernie has always worried that he could be Ralph Nadered, that if he does anything that would help Trump win or could be spun as helping Trump win, that he could be outcasted in like Ralph Nader has from the mainstream of anything. And people I spoke with today, he's not so much worried about him personally being outcasted. Obviously, he's been outcasted to a certain degree since he's been in the Senate and the House. But he is deeply concerned that if he does what certain people want him to do, if he goes hard after Pelosi, if he goes hard after Biden, You know, if he says what you're offering right now is a shit sandwich. Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.